Matthew in Cleveland, who writes, "Hey guys, I have a question that might not be quite what you're used to, but it's something I came across and it's been bothering me. I'm a project manager for a custom builder in the Cleveland, Ohio area. My wife and I have been looking for a new house to move into, and one came on the market, and we went and looked at it within 3 days of it being listed. It's a basic 3-bedroom ranch listed at a price that a completely renovated house would be selling for in the area. The pictures looked great, as you might imagine, but as soon as we walked in the house, a smell of mold hit me right in the face. It was so bad that after being in the house for 10 minutes, I started to get sick and had to leave. Before leaving, I noticed the hardwood flooring had no subfloor and was cupped and swollen in every room. I found a small access panel behind the tub. I removed it and looked in using a flashlight. I found dirt 1 inch from the bottom of the floor joist and no sign of a vapor barrier. After seeing this and taking into consideration the terrible smell, it seems to me that this house is a complete teardown no matter how nice things might look on the inside. We decided on a lowball offer about what the land is worth because the house seems to me it would be worth nothing at this point. Our offer was denied and another offer came in and was accepted. My question is to you, do you see any fix to this house besides completely starting over? I can't help but think that someone with no existing knowledge of how houses are built could come into this house and way overpaying thinking they can remediate the mold, but the problem would just keep coming back by my estimation. I feel terrible for this person who bought this house and wonder if there should be some kind of required pre-purchase mold inspection required with real estate transfers. It's so easy for someone with no knowledge to financially ruin themselves by purchasing a dump like this. I love the podcast and appreciate your time reading this." So the question is, I guess, what can be done about a house built inches over dirt without a vapor barrier? Brian, we heard from Evan Bache-Wiig, our friend at All Mold Pro in Rockwell, Texas. Do you want to share what Evan said?
Wait, I didn't see anything from Evan.
Oh, you didn't?
I must have missed that. No.
I sent you an email yesterday, so I'll get into that, but I'll read this and then you can weigh in if you wouldn't mind. He says, "Good morning. Thanks for reaching out and sorry for the delay. We had tornado, force winds, and multiple heavy storms, so we're in the thick of post-storm mold inspections. It delights me. Evan is so sweet. He apologized because they have all this severe weather and he couldn't respond to my email. He's a good guy. He said, "This is an interesting house the reader is describing. I'm more familiar with building practices in my southern part of the country, but my first thought that this had to be outside city limits and it wasn't permitted or inspected, or perhaps it's just very old. I've come across this type of damage with early 20th century crawl spaces in my area and with low crawl spaces or crawl spaces that had a water leak in them. Assuming the rest of the house is okay, I don't think the house needs to be scrapped. My recommendation for remediating this would be as follows. Remove the flooring and lower cabinets. Flood cut all the walls 2 feet up, assuming there's sheetrock and insulation. Excavate the crawl space as much as possible to install a vapor barrier across the soil. If visible mold is present in the wall cavities with penetrations in the bottom plate, plumbing and electrical penetrations, take the sheetrock off floor to ceiling, then clean with an approved product, followed by encapsulation with an antifungal paint. Finally, I would check that the attic to make sure that the soil moisture has not migrated up through the wall cavities and created a moisture problem on the underside of the sheathing." The listener commented that there should be a law requiring mold inspections, and while I think that this would be too much to legislate, I strongly agree that buyers should invest in the general inspection as well as mold, plumbing, electrical, structural, and HVAC when purchasing older homes so they have a better idea of what they're getting into. Unfortunately, this is not the reality lately, and frankly, it's expensive for a lot of people. I've posted some photos on All Mold Pro Instagram feed with videos of projects where the walls were flood cut and removed, where we removed subfloor. I've linked to those, and I'm always happy to comment on these things and happy to do another segment with y'all if you want to talk about mold remediation in greater detail. So, Evan, we might take you up on that. Hopefully folks will have questions about mold remediation or other, bulk water or water vapor or absorption of water into materials that Evan can answer. And he also sent some photos of projects that I found very interesting. But it looks a lot like what our Matthew in Cleveland writes about, like how you would fix this problem. The subfloor is all ripped up, the joists are exposed, and they are digging out the crawl space as best they can to put a vapor retarder on the soil. What do you think, Brian?
Well, I won't get in. The mold remediation is, you can do that, and you might need a professional to do it. So I'll let I mean, Evan said all that we need to hear about that, really. Then there's the question of, like, should there be a mold inspection? Well, I don't know. I think there should definitely be a great home inspection, a good home inspection when houses are sold. That's some places that might be required by real estate law. Some places that might be required by mortgage companies if you're getting a mortgage. In other places, in other situations, it might be up to the buyer to decide whether or not to do that. In this situation, I wonder if there's mold from this building being so close to the ground. I also wonder if there's rot. And I wonder what an investigation, a deeper investigation would reveal if you started to take up flooring, to sort of see what was really happening there. And I also wonder how comfortable this place can be. Cleveland's got cold winters
And hot.
and hot summers. Yeah. So if there's nothing happening underneath, just flooring on joists, I wonder how comfortable this place can actually be in the extreme, in extreme temperatures, those hot and cold times of the year. So, one of the things that interested me so much was how, he jumped quickly to the house being a tear down. And that's something, I wasn't sure about. If this is a house, if this house is otherwise in good shape, I mean, crawl spaces and foundations are retrofit all the time. So I don't know that it would necessarily be a tear down just because you need to, jack up the house and put in a proper crawl space beneath it. I mean, you have to look at costs. You just have to, I guess you would just have to compare the cost of the two things. Yes, that's expensive work to do, but so is building a new house. So is tearing down an old house.
Yeah.
Just the tear down's expensive. So that doesn't, like, the idea of retrofitting a proper crawl space doesn't necessarily maybe it's not a job that, many home buyers are going to be in for. Maybe no one wants to buy a house to have to do something like that, but the right person, it's definitely doable.
As folks often say, anything is fixable if you have enough money.
That's right. Right.
Thoughts on this, Mike? Have you come across any properties you looked at that were built on dirt?
No, fortunately.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we in the construction industry have an advantage on is we can walk through a building. We know what to look for. I've never only once ever hired a home inspector, even though in the handful of states I bought and sold property in, their state laws have a window of opportunity that's afforded to any buyers where they can have a home inspection done, and they become more and more popular over the years since they first came up in the early 80s. Before that, you never saw a home inspection. But now, people have that opportunity. But I think with today's real estate market, where there aren't a lot of homes coming on the market, and people are, bidding up the prices on homes, and I see this all the time in many places, that the buyers, when they make an offer, but they'll also maybe put in things like no home inspection. And if they waive their right to a home inspection, then, it's buyer beware at that point, because you don't have that opportunity unless you're, from the construction industry and you can really assess a home yourself for what it's going to need. But for an average buyer, you really don't want to waive your opportunity, even if you may lose getting that house, because you buy a house like this not knowing. And as Matthew points out, what is this person who did buy the house. What are they going to do? They may end up realizing afterwards that they have tens of thousands of dollars that they're going to have to put in to remedy this mold problem or potential mold problem.
I was going to say that like mechanics buy junk cars because they can fix them. It's a good investment. Carpenters and building folks can buy junky houses and, make a decent place if they have enough time and money. So I wouldn't be immediately turned off, but if you don't have tens of thousands or six figures to fix something like this, it's wise to stay away. I would also say that sometimes the smartest real estate decisions you make are houses you don't buy.